A $20 super cycle.
Let's get into it.
So today, guys, we're going to be taking a cheeky look at Cardano's ADA, and specifically some of the things that Charles Hoskinson was talking about in his short update that he did the other day. We're going to be taking a look at some of these fantastic things that are going to be going on in the background that could mean that a super cycle for Cardano could be on the cards. As we get into this video, guys, and you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. We both really do appreciate it. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you'd like to stay up to date with all those new cryptocurrencies and hidden gems, then why not consider subscribing to the channel? By becoming a subscriber, you'll be kept up to date with absolutely everything. It is, of course, free and you'll stay well informed, so why not? Chris, anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, just interested to get your thoughts and opinions. Let us know what you think is going to happen in the peak of the bull run for Cardano. Do we expect a super cycle? Really interested to know your thoughts and opinions.
Fantastic. Right, let's just jump straight on down and get into the very first thing that Charles was talking about.
Let's do it.
So the first thing that Charles kind of mentioned of real interest during his short update was about 𝗲𝗓. And 𝗲𝗓 is the scalability solution for Cardano. And Charles Hoskinson actually brought up in his short update how they were looking to actually get this on a test net this year. This could be absolutely massive, guys, because when it comes to scalability, you can see it with lots of other projects out there that maybe claim to have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 transactions per second. We just reflect a little bit on Ethereum right now that's doing 30 transactions per second approximately, to where Ethereum 2.0 is going, which is 100,000 transactions per second. The 𝗲𝗓 solution, this scalability solution, will see 1 to 2 million transactions per second, which is just completely unheard of on any other kind of blockchain tech out there. And this could be absolutely fantastic and also massive news for the entire space, wouldn't you say, Chris?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a game changer, isn't it, Nick? Really, let's be honest.
It really is a game changer. And there's a few other projects out there that are not really blockchain that do have high throughput. But when it comes to the kind of scale that 𝗲𝗓 is looking to achieve here for Cardano and that scalability solution, it is going to be absolutely massive. I mean, it's definitely something that you would need if you were to, let's say, run entire countries or entire continents on the Cardano ecosystem. So this is huge news, and it's fantastic that, IOG and Charles Hoskinson and the wider team are looking to potentially put 𝗲𝗓 onto a testnet for testing purposes this year. That is huge news, guys. And I think this is going to be really key to helping push things further forward. Okay, and obviously the second thing that was kind of being spoken about by Charles Hoskinson during his update was also Africa and obviously the Ethiopia deal. So Ethiopia obviously saw the education rolling onto the Cardano ecosystem. And obviously that is massive in itself. You're going to see a huge amount of adoption on the back of that. But also during his short update, Charles did mention that this is the first of many. This is not just the only deal that they are going after on the continent of Africa. It starts with Ethiopia, but it is going to be rolling out to many other countries on the continent. And above and beyond that, it's going to be many more and many different sectors, right? So it starts off with education in Ethiopia, which is a fantastic thing to be going after anyway, because it's going to be hugely beneficial to the people over in Ethiopia. But obviously, above and beyond that, you're already starting to see things go on in Tanzania and so forth, right? And this is huge news for what is potentially going to be a part of a completely, continent-wide effort here on Cardano's part to really have that mass adoption. And obviously, as we were talking about 𝗲𝗓 previously, these two things actually dovetail together, don't they, Chris?
They really do, Nick. And my thought process in the lead up to all the talks of Africa is, it always has been that this is just the start of things to come, right? And I was passionately thinking about that, and I really like everything that they're sort of looking at and that they have planned for Africa. It's fantastic.
It really is. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more deals kind of come to fruition on the continent of Africa. More countries kind of jumping on board. And obviously it starts with Ethiopia. That's your test. That's the proof of concept at scale. And once that one gets delivered and it starts to actually work as intended, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more adoption around many of those other countries. Now, there's other fantastic things that are going on in and around that space, but obviously, Africa is just one element of what Cardano is doing. You can obviously see many different companies and many different businesses that are currently running on Ethereum that are also struggling to scale or really struggling with those ETH fees. So you're already, and we've spoken about this before, have over about 100 or so companies that are looking to move their projects from Ethereum over to Cardano, basically just to have a more stable environment. And ultimately, these are people who are not willing to wait a year for ETH 2.0 and obviously are looking for the more superior technology. This is something that 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗓 has spoken about quite a bit, and that's Dr. Ben Goertzel, who does say that Cardano is a more superior technology than that of Ethereum. Now, level hate it, I still think Ethereum is going to do well this year, but ultimately, we are looking at Cardano as a future kind of stable project in comparison. So you can see that not only is there wide adoption happening over in Africa, you're going to see a mass migration from Ethereum over to Cardano once that Alonzo hard fork gets issued and ushers in the Goguen era and all that smart contract functionality. Once you see that, you're going to see a mass adoption of Cardano just from existing people in the space migrating from Ethereum over to Cardano. And then obviously everything happening in Africa and potentially the scalability and everything that's going on over there with 𝗲𝗓 later in the year and beginning of next year. I think this is going to be a fantastic, to see all of this kind of stuff gel together and really work well. So I think, Chris, all of that kind of combined puts like a $10, $20 Cardano kind of price prediction on the cards. But I do think as well, it might also seem bearish in some regards, because if you have that level of adoption, it could easily surpass even some of the most wildest predictions for ADA. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts, Nick. They align with yours, and for me, I can see a $10 to $20 ADA. I just don't know whether we're going to see it this cycle. I'd love to, but yeah, nothing is impossible, is it? Let's be honest.
Exactly. I mean, that actually touches on the next subject, Chris, which Charles Hoskinson brought up Dogecoin, right? And how there is this worry in the space that Dogecoin is going to be that catalyst for heavy regulations to come into the crypto industry. And that would be devastating for not just one or two projects, but for pretty much all of them. And it'll be with a hard hammer, I feel, Chris, that those regulations would come in if that were the case. Now, there is, of course, the possibility that actually Dogecoin does its own little thing. It goes into its own cycle, and it has its own little cycle of investors who are constantly buying and selling Doge, and it has its own little cycle, and it does find good support somewhere. Now, with that happening, that could prevent the kind of heavy regulations that Charles Hoskinson has been talking about. However, I do find that as a bit of a long shot. It won't obviously go to zero, but it has a long way to fall. So good support would have to be found if the Dogecoin was to continue and have its own cycle and its own shift of patterns going forward. So it's really on the fence. We'll really have to see how this one goes as to whether or not, regulators do come in when the Doge bubble pops and those regulators come in with a heavy hammer, or whether or not Dogecoin will pop but find support at a reasonable level that would prevent those regulators coming in and actually going really hard on the crypto space. But Chris, what's your thoughts? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll go to zero. I do think that we're going through a bit of a phase. I am concerned about regulations, and well, not so much regulations, because I'm pro let's get this space regulated. It's more the approach that worries me because of activity like this, where there's going to be many people that get hurt, and that's not good for adoption. So I think my worries and concerns are twofold. The type of regulation, and what I mean by that is by force rather than having a regulation that encourages innovation and stuff like that. I'm more concerned about the likes of the SEC and other regulators coming in and just being forceful and not clear, a bit like what we're seeing with Ripple and XRP in the fact that they've brought this lawsuit, and really all it's done is damage the reputation of Ripple, and we'll probably get some hate for this, but I think Ripple are lobbying for good regulation that encourages and enhances innovation. And I think that's something that the space should be going for as well, because we're all here to make money, change the world for the good, and you unfortunately need regulations to remove bad actors and encourage that innovation. And without it, I kind of feel like you're not going to get that mainstream adoption, which is a winner for everybody. So I like the stuff that Ripple have been doing. I don't like the enforcement action that's been taken. I think it's damaging, and that's why I've got that concern. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I kind of expect there to be some changes in the coming months. On the note of, I don't know, this isn't a Ripple XRP video, but I expect there to be a settlement that works in favor of both parties on the XRP case, and I think that's a good thing for the space. But we are, as investors, retail investors, that is, giving authorities an opportunity here that they could seize upon to enforce change, and I don't think that's a good thing. And that's my biggest concern, along with the fact that many people are going to get hurt, and that's going to put them off investing in this space. And I think that'd be a real shame.
That's exactly what Charles Hoskinson was kind of adhering to there. So I think you and Charles are pretty much on the same kind of page there, wavelength. It's ultimately everything that's happening with Dogecoin could be that catalyst to bring in really harsh and heavy regulation. But let's hope that that isn't the case, and that Doge finds good support, and actually it can prevent that from happening going forward. And let's see what happens with the whole Ripple case as well. So guys, let's take a look at this. This is going to be Cardano to USDT, daily chart, Binance as the data source. I'm just going to quickly talk through what's been happening here with Cardano's ADA. We also have the Fibonacci retracement tool on here. This runs from the low of the 23rd of December through to the high that was achieved up there on the 27th of February. It was a 66-day run that saw 1,076% in gains. So pretty good run was had there. We also had a sideways trade here for 41 days, just pretty standard kind of corrections to correct both the relative strength index, the volumes, and all that kind of good stuff. We also found good support on the 50 moving average at this point, over here and here. Then we had a good pump to the upside. It was a 3-day run that saw an additional 30% added, which set a new all-time high at that point in time. That was on the 14th of April. We then had Bitcoin do a bit of a correction and pulled the price back down towards our 50% retracement zone before we started to rally back up again. And obviously in the last couple of days here, we set a couple of new all-time highs. We can see the first one was set over here on the 6th of May, followed by the 7th of May, slight pullback, and found support here at $1.55, which so happened to be the previous area of resistance. We've turned that into support, and then we set another additional all-time high on the 9th of May when we had the pullback. And currently, actually, we're still above our support line of $1.55. Yesterday's wick with Bitcoin having a bit of a tantrum for us had actually pulled the wick down a little bit below $1.55. But as long as you weren't selling and buying into, or say selling, and you were buying the fear at this point, you were actually doing okay, because ultimately we're at above that support of 155, currently trading at 171, and we're not too far away from our first price target here, which actually comes in at 35%. And the first price target that we've been talking about for a while here is $2.33. That was our kind of a May price prediction. That's where we're kind of thinking the month of May is likely to go. We thought we were onto a bit of a winner the other day, but obviously Bitcoin's correction had other plans. But it's okay, because actually that whole correction yesterday has actually now corrected the relative strength index into a better, stronger position to continue the motion to the upside. So it was a bit of a no-brainer that actually it's going to go back up. You can see the volumes have dropped off here on this daily chart as well, and it is moving quite well. What I'll quickly do is just pull this down into our 4-hourly just to see a little bit more of the detail. And here you can see exactly what's being found at the $1.55 support line as we move on up here. We also have the 50 moving average. This was actually the key thing that's now crossing over our $1.55 support line. So moving further forward, the 50 moving average could be forming a good area of support like it has done in the past for us, and it is now going to be above the $1.55 area. So that's a good sign. We can also see that the relative strength index is also at a pretty good level at 56, so just above that midway point, and huge amounts of room to grow to the upside. The volumes are currently dropping down, but we need to get a reversal on that. We want to see the volume starting to increase now after yesterday's scare. What I do is I just pull this down into our hourly, and again you'll see the little bit more of the detail. This time you can actually see that the 50 moving average on the hourly here is actually forming a bit of resistance. If we can push through that, we should be in a pretty good position. We can also see that after yesterday's correction that the relative strength index was actually pulled down quite low. It actually got as low as 35, and obviously when you're at the bottom, Chris, there's nowhere else to go but to the upside. And we were talking a lot about this on the stream last night. There were so many altcoins that were oversold, and if you were selling, you were doing yourself a disservice. Ultimately, when you're oversold, there's nowhere else to go but to the upside, and that's exactly what you're starting to see today with lots of reversals. Now, we can see the volume's also starting to grow here on this hourly chart, as well as that relative strength index moving to the upside. So again, this is 56 on the relative strength index, loads of room to grow. I think we'll probably power on through that resistance of the 50 moving average pretty quickly here as the volume continues to grow. I'll just throw this back up into our daily chart here. So we can say that, yeah, ultimately, guys, we are 35% away from our first price target of $2.33. That so happened to be our monthly target here for Cardano ADA at $2.33. But again, like this video, you know, and the thumbnail kind of suggests, we do think that there's a potential here for a super cycle that could see Cardano's ADA move, you know, up towards that $10 to $20 range. And I'd be really keen to see how that unfolds. At the moment, the technical data here is suggesting around the $6 level. But I think actually this is going to be much, much higher than that. In the same way that Doge had its way surpassed its top extension level already, I think you're going to see something similar here with Cardano mass adoption, mass FOMO. And I think ultimately Cardano is going to be well positioned to really push the price of ADA significantly higher than maybe some people have actually been able to predict based on technical analysis. So things are looking pretty good here, Chris, when it comes to Cardano's ADA. I think we're going to be in a pretty good position. And I think, yeah, I would be really impressed to see a $20 ADA price, and I think that's something that we could, you know, potentially see during this cycle if it's a super cycle, that is. If it's not a super cycle, then, you know, I think still 10 to 15 could be a pretty good spot. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think sort of for me, like, it really depends on how fast things move in Africa. I'm still erring on caution. I'd say sort of $5 is in my mind, but you know, I'm not looking to sell an awful lot of ADA in this bull cycle. You know, for me, it's all about the next one. I think it's going to be a completely different beast come the next cycle. For me, like, the things that they're doing are just remarkable, changing, you know, people's lives for the better. And yeah, like, I'm going to take a little bit of profit. Obviously, you'd be mad not to, and we say this all the time. But with that said, like, for me, Cardano is a long-term investment.
Absolutely. Guys, hopefully you found this video useful and informative. If you did, hit that like button. We both really do appreciate it. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with all those new cryptocurrencies, hidden gems, technical analysis and news, then why not consider subscribing to the channel? By becoming a subscriber, you'll be kept up to date with all of it. It is free. You'll stay well informed. So why not? And with that said, done and out of the way, we hope you have a fantastic day, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Take care.